Wow, good afternoon. This is truly an honor and a pleasure to be standing before you tonight. It's always a tough task to go behind a great speaker like John Schuman and my collegiate coach, Jerry Moore, Coach Eric. I first want to start by thanking the other enshrinement, the other inductees tonight, but also I want to start with thanking the Fuma family, the selection committee that decided to enshrine me tonight. I want to give you guys thanks as well. Coach Eric talked about the 5 things that Fork Union didn't have. We didn't have the perfume. We didn't have phones. Coach Schuman talked about several things that we didn't have. I'll be the first to tell you, because of those things that we didn't have, when I came to campus, I probably packed my bags in my head 1,000 times. Wanting to leave, Coach Schuman talked about it, but I couldn't leave. There was no place for me to go. My dad, my mom, they wouldn't allow me to come back home. The sacrifices they made for me to come to Fork Union Military Academy, it wasn't about football. It was about getting an education. It was about putting myself in a position to be the first in my family to go to a 4-year university and graduate with a degree. Coach Schuman, I thank you. Coach Schuman read off the Hall of Fames that I've recently been enshrined to, collegiate, all my career accolades. I must be the first to tell you that this enshrinement tonight is by far the most important one of my entire life. Not only because of the family here, but all those Hall of Fames he was talking about, that was post Fork Union. If it wasn't for the foundation that I established pre Folk Union and my times here at Folk Union, I would have never had that opportunity or those opportunities to get into the Hall of Fame in my post career. So I want to thank the Fork Union family, the staff, everyone that helped me apply myself and instilled the discipline that it took to be a success. It was hard work. By no means is it easy. You come here, you study, you bring the flag up, you take the flag down, you go to parades, you study, you wake up, and you do the same thing over and over again. But what that taught me was respect. It taught me discipline. It taught me a lot about myself because coming from a small town in Mount Pleasant, South Carolina, I thought I had all the answers. My parents were good parents. My dad was a brick mason, worked hard, didn't have an education, so education was key in my household. So I went to school and I applied myself, but I didn't take advantage of SATs. Oh, I took it for granted. I didn't want to waste my Saturday mornings testing for scholastic tests. I had the grades, I had the GPA, I just didn't have my SATs. I had an opportunity to come up here at Fork Union Military Academy, and John Schuman, the very first day I met him, you know, he walks around, if you haven't noticed or if you don't know him, he tends to, because he's pretty tall in stature, he mentioned compact guys. I was a little guy, so he always would kind of walk over you and kind of hold his head down and look and be like, yeah, so what you think? You ready for this? What are you going to do when you get here? I mean, he had this sense about him. I call him soft now because on our ride here, he told me all the stories and the things that he's allowing the PG graduates to get away with now. I can't imagine being here now. I mean, I was terrified. I mean, he walked around and just his presence, he made us all felt like, hey, if you don't get it right, like Coach said, we get to send you home. We don't have to answer to anyone. We send you home. If you don't do what we tell you to do, you go home. And I knew I couldn't go home to my dad, like I said. I mean, it was dealing with John Schuman or going home and dealing with my dad. Well, I took my chance and said, you know what, I'm going to deal with Coach Schuman. And it's the greatest decision of my career. Fork Union taught me a lot. It taught me how to be a man. The biblical backing that's supporting this academy, it allowed me to apply those same principles in my everyday life. Coach Jerry Moore talked about, just going to Appalachian and spending my times there in the summer and not going home. Well, I learned that discipline here. The fact that I had to go in English 5 weeks and go to Coach Schuman and then go to English and go to Coach Schuman, it allowed me to study on my own and develop those characteristics that you would need as a collegiate student. It allowed me to go into Appalachian State, and Jerry Moore could attest to this. I applied myself. It's not that I didn't want to go home in the summer, but I had someone paying for me to get a free education. I was doing something that I love to do, and that's playing football. So I spent my summers there at Appalachian, where summer school was paid for. It wasn't that I had to go to summer school because I didn't do well in a class prior. I was going to summer school to take classes that I needed to take to get out of school early. I became a senior at Appalachian State, and I only had one class to take. So that whole time when I was at Appalachian State, I applied myself with the discipline that I developed here at Fork Union Military Academy. That's why I said Fork Union is by far the best place, and this enshrinement tonight means the most, because if it wasn't for the disciplines that I developed here, it wouldn't allow me to be the person I was post Fork Union. So I want to thank everyone here that had a part in molding me into being the man that I am today. Schuman talked about this being his daughter's birthday tonight. Well, I'm going to one better him, and the reason my wife is not here in my family, I have a 9-year-old daughter and a 7-year-old son, it's my wife's birthday today. And thank you. Not that she couldn't travel on her birthday, but we were just broken with the news that we're expecting our 3rd child. So her doctor is keeping a close tab on her. When you get past a certain age, you are considered high risk. So, they want to watch you. And by far, this was not planned. We thought we were done at 2, but God has other plans for us in our lives. So we're going to accept this blessing. But I want to close in saying that I learned a lot here. Not only that I learned discipline, I learned self-respect. I learned how to respect others. And I apply those principles into my life today. With my kids, I try to apply the same principles to them. If you're going to be a man of integrity and a man who believes in what he says, well, they have to see it from me first. So I want to show them how if you apply yourself, you can accomplish anything there is in life you want to accomplish. Because I took those times, not that I didn't want to go to Richmond, Virginia when I was here, or I didn't want to go other places. It's just that I couldn't. I knew I had a purpose for being here, and that purpose was to come and get an education in hopes and chance of getting a collegiate scholarship. By applying myself and doing those things, it allowed me to go and, as Schuman said, put myself in a better position to take care of my family. But it all started with John Schuman, who on that day, he worked me out. I never knew any of this until now. I never knew about how you evaluate the parents when they come with their kids. Those are all new to me, so I know what to tell my kids when I send them to Fork Union Military Academy. But this place has been great, instrumental in my career, instrumental in me becoming the man that I am today. I want to thank my coach, Jerry Moore, for being here, because the relationship he developed with John Schuman, and when he came up here and he said, hey, I'm going to offer you a scholarship to Appalachian State. I went we used to go pick mail up. and I'm assuming the mail is the same place. That was the first thing we did when we got here. Once you took that SAT, you didn't care. Well, you didn't care about eating lunch. You wanted to go get the mail and see if you hit your boards. Once I hit my boards, unfortunately, when I did, Coach Schuman had just started a new program where he wouldn't let postgraduate guys leave early. Well, I thought it was a horrible decision because I'd made my boards, I'd wanted to leave, but I realized that this place was the best place for me. I mean, it allowed me, it taught me so much. And just being around a group of men, being around your peers, it allowed me to just zone in on my academics. It allowed me to zone in on the things that meant the most to me. And that's applying myself and using those same principles and applying myself today. So I want to thank you all for this enshrinement tonight. I want to thank Fork Union for being a great family. The only regret I do have is it took me 19 years to come back. This family, walking in the doors and seeing familiar faces, people that were here when I was here, you all meant a lot to me, and you all molded me in the man that I am today. The only regret I have is the fact that I stayed away for so long. Thank you all. Thank you.